Hello everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel Best IT Solutions, and today in this video tutorial I am going to discuss Servlet and JSP related interview questions and answers. Okay, so let's start. So our first question is, what is a servlet? So servlet is one Java program which is executed over server. Java Servlet is a server-side technology to extend the capability of web server by providing support for dynamic response and data persistence. So Servlet is one Java program which is executed over the server. So Java Servlet is a server-side technology. It is a server-side technology to extend the capability of web server. So to extend the capability of web server, Java Servlet technology has emerged to extend the capability of web browser by providing support for dynamic response and data persistence. Okay, so the Java X.Servlet and Java X.Servlet HTTP packages provide interfaces and classes for writing your own servlet. So the Java X.Servlet and Java X.Servlet.HTTP, these two packages provide interfaces and classes for writing our own servlets. And next question is difference between get and post methods. So the first difference is the get is limited amount of data can be sent. So through get method we can send the limited amount of data, but post method large amount of data can be sent. And in get, because of data is sent in header and data is sent in body. So in a get method data is sent in header, and in post method data is sent in body. So since data is sent in header in get method, so not secured because data is exposed in URL bar. So here the data is not secured since data is exposed in the URL bar, but in post method the data is secured since data is sent through the body and because data is not sent in URL bar. And get can be bookmarked and idempotent. So the get can be bookmarked or idempotent, but the post method cannot be bookmarked and non-idempotent. It is not idempotent. And in get it is more efficient and more used than post, but it is less efficient and less used than post. So get method is efficient and more used, but it is not secured, but post is secured and it is less efficient. And what are the different ways of session management? So for managing the session we can use the different techniques like HTTP and web server, both are stateless. So the HTTP and the web server both are the stateless. So session is a conversational state between client and server, and it can consist of multiple request and response between client and server. So since the HTTP and web server both are the stateless, session is a conversational state between client and server. So session is the only conversational state between client and server, and it can consist of multiple request and response between client and server. So session management techniques are like the user authentication and HTML hidden field and cookies. Another is like URL rewriting and session management API. So in the different ways we can manage the session like user authentication, HTML hidden field, cookies, and URL rewriting and session management API. So through this way we can manage the session in servlet. What is the difference between servlet context and servlet config? So the servlet context and servlet config means servlet config object, these two are the objects. Servlet config object represents single servlet, and servlet context it represents whole web application running on particular JVM and common for all the servlet. The servlet context object is common for all the servlet, but servlet config object is represents a single object, single servlet. And servlet config look like local parameter associated with particular servlet. So it is look like a local parameter associated with particular servlet, but here it's look like global parameter associated with whole applications. That is the can access through all servlets. And in servlet config, get servlet config is used to get the config object, and here the get servlet context method is used to get the context object. What is the life cycle of the servlet? So there are 5 stages of life cycle like loading, and initialization and instantiation and request and destroyed. So the 5 stages of life, there is a 5 stages of life cycle, like the loading, first order load, and initializations and instantiations and request and destroyed. So these are the 5 stages of the servlet life cycle. What is the request dispatcher? So request dispatcher interface is used for forward the request to another resource that can be HTML, JSP or another servlet in the same application. So for forwarding the request, the request dispatcher interface is used to forward the request to another resource. So another resource, maybe it is HTML page, it is JSP page, or it is maybe another servlet. So the forwarding the request to another servlet or another JSP page, another HTML page, we can use the request dispatcher. We can also use this to include the content of another resource to the response. So to include the content of the another resource, we can also use the request dispatcher. There are 2 methods define this interface, like the forward and another the include. So one is the forward for forwarding the request, or the include to including on the other resource requests. How does cookies work in servlet? So cookies also mostly used session management techniques. So cookies are text data sent by server to the client local machine. So cookies are the text data that is sent by the server to the client local machine. Servlet API provides cookies support through Java X.servlet.http cookie class that implements serializable and clonable interface. So Servlet API provides cookies support through Java X.servlet.http cookies class that implements serializable and clonable interface. So cookies HTTP servlet request get cookies method is provided to get the array of cookies from request. Since there is no point of adding cookies to request, there are no methods to set or add cookies to the request. Okay, so there is a method like get cookies. So HTTP servlet request provides the get cookies method that is provided to get the array of the cookies from the request. Since there is no point of adding cookie to the request, and there are also no methods to set or add cookie to the request, so get cookies method is used. Similarly, HTTP servlet response and add cookies method is provided to attach cookie in response header. There are no getter method for cookie. So similarly, for HTTP response and cookies method is provided to attach cookies in the response header. There are no get method for the cookie. So these are the cookie in servlet. This is the working process of cookie in the servlet. Okay, right, thank you, and this much in this video tutorial. And if you think that you have learned something from this video, you can like, share and subscribe my channel.